So I've really been in the mood to bake recently, so I wanted to make some sugar cookies, and then I also wanted to talk a little bit about diet culture, especially now that we're kind of getting into the holidays, and for a lot of people, the holidays involve a lot of food, especially if you're Mexican. So I feel like it's a really hard time for a lot of people because with all the food, people feel like they're cheating on their diet or they're falling off the wagon. But I feel like a lot of that has to do with diet culture and how we're told we should eat and live our lives. So that's kind of something I wanted to talk about while I bake. I'm not the best baker. I feel like it's a lot of chemistry, but we're gonna try this anyway.
Two hours later.
Okay. So technically you're supposed to sift the flour, but that just seems like a lot of work. So I guess I can just talk about it while I bake. But basically, diet culture is the belief that thinness equates health and moral virtue, meaning that if you're thin, you're a good person, but if you're fat, you're a bad person. But obviously that's not true. Everyone knows somebody who's skinny but is not in the best shape of their life or not in the best health. I mean, honest, people who are maybe bigger, but they're very healthy and they eat well. So, and then the whole like moral virtue thing of like being a good person just because you're skinny is completely wrong too. But that idea kind of like inherently makes you feel like you're not good enough or that you're broken just because you're not like the thin ideal. This is a lot of butter. And I feel like everyone has kind of like those thoughts of like I could be skinnier or, you know, look different. Even if you are somebody who is already thin, like that's always in the back of your mind that like I could be doing more to make myself look a certain way. So many of our health goals just revolve around wanting a smaller body or being a smaller size, and we're kind of like taught to think that if we do reach that goal of being smaller or being skinnier, then we're going to be so much happier, so much healthier, and more desirable. But in reality, we're still going to have all the same issues that we did before. Having a smaller body or losing weight isn't going to magically make all of our problems disappear. Okay, now I'm gonna, oh my god, I forgot to set the oven. I always forget to set the oven. I just get carried away. Isn't there supposed to be salt? Yeah, half a teaspoon of salt. Can I read? So I'm gonna chill this because it's easier to use the cookie cutters on them when it's kind of cold. I mean, even I think sometimes like that I could be skinnier and that I could lose some weight, or if I do gain weight, I just like feel horrible. everyone has those thoughts. And I feel like so much of our health goals revolve around having like a certain body type and just being thin or losing weight. And I think that's because just diet culture in general is just everywhere. We're taught that if we did more, then we would be able to reach our goals faster and be happier. If we went to the gym more, if we ate less calories, if we took more supplements, more vitamins, like whatever, there's always like something that we could be doing more of. So like I've always been a petite person. I'm 4'11" and I weigh 105 pounds, and that's just how I've always been. I think being an athlete for basically my whole life, like when I was younger I played like soccer and softball and did all that, and then in high school and college I cheered and I was a flyer, so obviously I had to be a certain size. Thankfully I never had to resort to anything like an eating disorder or just like restricting myself. I feel like as long as I'm active, like I can maintain whatever weight I'm at and it's fine. But I know that that's not the case for everybody. Like personally, my fitness and nutrition goals do kind of involve having a certain body type, and that's just being like lean. I think it's okay to kind of have a body image that you want as a goal. I think that's just like how everybody is, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's important to think about why. Don't judge me, but I don't have a roller, and I feel like this will work. So we're gonna use a bottle of wine. So let's see. Oh, I should have let it chill for a lot longer. Oh well. Oh my god, this is working. I think this is working. I just didn't chill the dough enough, so it's like kind of ripping. That's good enough. Nutcracker. It's really hard for me to like bake or cook and like talk about something serious. So while those are baking, I'm gonna try to like talk about this some more. But my goals do kind of my goals around nutrition and fitness do kind of focus around having a lean and muscular body type, but they mostly focus around just kind of like building and improving on like what my body is capable of doing, especially when it comes to endurance things and cardio and like strength training. I don't like lift crazy or anything, but I feel like being able to lift what I can and just like lift more is just kind of like why I work out. So I don't think it's wrong to like want to look a certain way, but I think you need to ask yourself, why do you want to look like that? Is it just because you think that that's what society wants you to look like, or that's what you think is going to make you happier or more desirable, or are there other reasons? And the issue with diet culture is that like people go to the extremes in order to have that thin ideal body type, and that's not healthy and that's not what it should be about. So I mean, like, having to restrict yourself entirely from an entire macronutrient like carbohydrates, or exercising so much to the point that you are constantly injured or you overuse your muscles, or developing eating disorders, or resorting to plastic surgery, like those are extremes that you shouldn't have to go to in order to fit this ideal. and it's not even ideal just to fit this sort of body type that we have all collectively agreed is somehow superior than another one just because of the way it looks. With diet culture, we're basically taught how to diet and not how to feed ourselves for nourishment or enjoyment, which is really what I like to think about. Obviously, as somebody who studied nutrition and works in nutrition, I care a lot about the health aspect of food and nourishment, but I also enjoy like the sort of like social and like aesthetic to food. They're not done. Are you kidding me? I hate this recipe. I've used it before and I thought it was just the way that I did it last time, but this recipe sucks. It says 7 minutes and they're not even like push it down. Anyway, so like I was saying, as somebody who is in the nutrition field and studied nutrition, health is really important to me and nourishment is really important, but also the social aspect of food, like just going out to a restaurant or just like having a meal with your family, like that sort of like social aspect that comes with food, and also aesthetic and how food is presented, and like just like when I'm baking or doing something like that, like cutting out, like using the cookie cutters to make it look cuter. Like obviously that adds no nutritional value, it adds no additional flavor, but it's just something else, that, like another aspect of it that I just enjoy and that like other people enjoy. And diet culture kind of demonizes that way of eating, and I feel like that can really develop negative relationships with food, and that's why people tend to develop eating disorders or like a mentality that they have to restrict themselves. I just want everyone to look at this. Okay. It didn't turn out that bad. So in my other videos, I talked a little bit about intuitive eating. And basically that is just a fancy way of saying like just plainly eating. You're just listening to your body and what it wants and when it wants it, because your body knows. It's not going to be easy for everyone, especially if you're somebody who is underweight or is experiencing an eating disorder or struggles with an eating disorder, because it's hard for you to rely on your body to give you those signals of when you're hungry. So you're really relying on internal cues and not external cues, like counting calories or looking at a scale or counting macros. And this works personally for me just because I do have a good relationship with food, and I've never had an eating disorder or felt like I had to really restrict anything whenever I'm eating. Some people probably would say that like intuitive eating won't work, or it doesn't work just because it's not as sexy as saying that this diet is going to make you lose weight in 2 weeks or get a 6-pack in a month or whatever. It takes a lot longer to see results when you're intuitively eating, but I feel like overall it's just a better lifestyle to have and a better relationship with food. And I mean, I get to eat whatever I want, and I think that knowing that I can eat whatever I want allows you to not feel like when you do come across something, like for example, some people might say like, well, what's going to stop you from eating a whole cake if you can just eat whatever you want? And I think that when you're somebody who is on a diet where you are restricting yourself, then you are going to probably want to eat a whole cake, because that's like a cheat meal and you have that one chance to eat that, and then after that you'll go back to eating good. So you're just going to eat that whole cake, and then you'll restrict yourself later on to make up for that. And that's what some people do. But when you're intuitively eating, you don't have that guilt of this is not something that I'm allowed to do. You're allowed to do it. You have the cake, it satisfies that craving, and you don't eat all of it because you just kind of needed to taste it. Like you needed to satisfy that craving, and having a slice rather than a whole cake satisfied it, and you don't restrict yourself later on throughout the day or the next day. You just move on. Continue to listen to cues. Personally, that helps me. I like every day is different. Some days I just want breakfast. Some days I won't eat until lunch, and even lunch will be small. It's just listening to what my body needs when it needs it. I'll put a link in the description of like a video that kind of describes intuitive eating a little bit better than I can. I am still learning about intuitive eating and practicing intuitive eating, but I think it's a good concept for a lot of people to know about and to kind of strive for when they're trying to figure out like what is best for them when it comes to diet and eating habits. So coming back to sort of diet culture, health and happiness are not dependent on your weight or on your size. I think it's important to really focus on what your health goals are and how to get there without having to restrict yourself or without having to make it revolve around a certain body type. One suggestion that I have is unfollowing people who make you feel like you are not doing enough. Their like posts could say things like, get in the gym, no excuses. Sometimes that can be motivational for people, but if that makes you feel like you're not doing enough and makes you feel bad, or it makes you feel like you're being shamed, then unfollow those people. Follow people who are going to support body positivity, who are going to support healthy eating, healthy food habits. And kind of like on a side-ish note, pretty much all the registered dietitians and nutrition experts that I know don't suggest that you should be restricting yourself. It's really about learning about what your body is like, what it needs. Not everybody is going to have the same approach. Like kind of on the same note as physical like exercise, think about other reasons why you're exercising. Exercising isn't just to lose weight or burn calories. There's a lot of other benefits to it that people don't really think about. But I mean, like just having fun, mental health, being outdoors. And for some people, socializing, like if you're in a fitness class or something like that, or you're an athlete and you're on a sports team or whatever. So that was my little rant about diet culture and kind of what I feel about it. I know that I'm not like the best person to kind of talk about that because I've really never had to experience a lot of the pressures of having to fit that ideal skinny type, because I am aware that I am a petite person. So, but I still think that it's important for somebody like me to kind of speak out about it and talk about it and bring awareness to it and kind of like start conversations about it. So like I said, I'll make sure to post a video in the description of kind of like a little bit more explanation about what intuitive eating is about. If I can find a good one on diet culture, I'll do that. Or just like some more information about diet culture. I'll put the recipe for the cookies in there too. This is the second time that I've used this recipe, and it says to bake for 350 degrees for like 7 to 10 minutes, and both times I've had to bake them for 20 minutes, so something's off. But I'll still put it in the description anyway. Ooh, actually I'm gonna try one right now. They're really soft. So if you're gonna do this recipe, just watch them instead of relying on the time that the recipe says. That's not bad. So that was it. Hopefully you guys learned something new about diet culture, or just kind of are thinking a little bit differently. Hopefully you guys are thinking a little bit more about the way that it influences you and what your biases are when it comes to people of like different sizes. But now I'm just gonna eat some more cookies, so thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see next. I think I'm going to do videos like every 2 weeks just because it's kind of a lot of work, but I like to do it, so just let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll try my best. Thanks.